Welcome to Pera's Playbook. This is your host, Alex Pera. Let's open up our playbook and see who our guest is. Please enjoy. Welcome to episode 133 of Pera's Playbook. Today I'm joined by Erica Grube. She plays soccer at Lawrence University. How's it going?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I have not had a lot of soccer players on the podcast. It's kind of one sport that I've lacked, and I don't know if I've had a single men's soccer player on, and I think I've only had a couple women's soccer players. So you're one in the few
Well, I'm
representing.
honored to be featured.
So then I'd like to talk a little bit about soccer recruiting because I've talked so much about recruiting with other sports, um, football, basketball, volleyball, and whatnot. And let's dive into soccer recruiting a little bit. I know lots of sports, like volleyball, if you don't play some level of club in high school, it's pretty much impossible to be recruited to any level of college volleyball. But other sports like football, I mean, you're pretty much good to play D3 or D2 as long as you have a successful career. You don't have to do a ton of extra. If you want to go D1, you've got to do camps. In basketball, you've got to play AAU if you want to play college ball. So, what is it like for soccer? Is there a mix of girls that play club and girls that don't, or is it kind of club or bust?
Yeah, so I would say that playing club is probably the most popular way people do get recruited. High school can vary a lot, so you can find really good club players at high schools that might be not as competitive. And so I think club provides the opportunity for you to get noticed. There's obviously different clubs then too, and different levels of clubs. And depending on if you're on like a nationally traveling team, you got might get more exposure to higher competition, and that might push you more into a Division 1, Division 2 space. Whereas if you play on just a state traveling team, you might be exposed not necessarily to lower competition, but it might not be as competitive, and therefore it allows you to have to closer align with like a Division 3 lifestyle where soccer might not be your whole life, and you might have, really good grades, or you might be involved in other clubs, and so you might fit more with a Division 3 program than a Division 1 where your life hasn't just been just soccer. And I would say that soccer probably aligns more with volleyball in terms of just like if you do want to play college, a lot of people play club because you do have to play soccer year round in order to refine those skills. And so it's not just the running aspect or like the physicality of soccer that's hard. It's like piecing plays together and, you know, being willing to take people on one and use your technical skills, and all those things develop over time that club can't do like alone and high school can't do alone. You kind of need like the mix of them when you're in that stage of life. And so my recruiting process, I moved from just north of Milwaukee further north into a more rural area, and I stayed with my club, so I actually traveled probably like 45 minutes to practice. And it wasn't really until probably like my senior year. So a lot of Division 1 people are probably already committed by their senior year, probably like their junior year or the earliest they could commit Division 1. A lot of those girls make those choices and have been debating like all of their high school career where they want to go. And I played on a state like traveling team, so I didn't go to like a on national scale basically. And I, was heavily prioritizing school and other things, and really just did not see like college soccer as like an option really, I guess, for me. Like I didn't even really think about it until my senior year when I was like, oh my gosh, I can't stop playing. Like this is something so fun and I couldn't imagine. And so I contemplated playing at like a state level school like UW lacrosse or UW Madison and playing on just a club team there. But I found out that some club teams don't practice regularly, they don't have games regularly, and I just like couldn't imagine my life without continuing to play. And so I ended up talking to one of the coaches at my club team. I played club at North Shore United in Mequon, Wisconsin. And after playing there and talking to one of the coaches, she was able to set me up with my current head coach, Joe Sager, and I was able to have a campus visit my senior year. And then it wasn't long after getting to see the campus and the facilities and meet some of the girls on the team that I decided like I really like need this, and this is all I really have ever wanted is being on a team with people that want to put in as much work as I want to put in and play soccer as badly as I want to play soccer. And so getting to have that experience was super unique. And I think really getting to meet like the girls on the team and be in that atmosphere really like pushed me to decide that I wanted to keep playing.
I think D3 provides that for like athletes across a lot of sports where you can play competitive sport against really good competition with teammates like you said that want to work really hard. You keep playing your sport, but you don't have that pressure that you mentioned of Division One where like your sport has to be your entire life, but you're also attending classes at a really high university. So I mean, you've got so much extra stress. So yeah, I mean, I think Division Three, some people look down on it, but I think that's, it's kind of a screwed up viewpoint to look down on it, especially the high end Division Three programs in their respective sports. I mean, you can have a lot of success and you can play like I said, high level competition, and you're not so consumed in it that your life is just only sports.
Absolutely, yeah. And this year we got to play some of those teams that are at those really high levels, and I mean, they are like amazing. And some of those teams could compete with Division One teams. Like they are that good. And it's just about the fact that like there's no scholarship attached to my playing ability. So, if I walk away having a bad practice, I'm not sitting there like, oh my God, I'm gonna lose my scholarship. Like I don't have that added pressure. It's just me playing a sport that I love, and we get scholarships based off of leadership positions and stuff like that. So they're able to supplement in other ways where it's like maybe you were a captain for your team and they noticed that you were in leadership positions in other ways. And so you get a leadership scholarship and your school is able to award you for those things. And so it's not to say that your sports don't pay at all, but you're not getting paid to play necessarily or paid to perform. And so it takes off that stress of needing to be at your best self all the time, as well as just being able to be involved in other things on campus. My school in particular, Lawrence, really sets up this community where everyone has something weird about them that they love, and our school provides the opportunity for you to explore that. And so we've got like art clubs and we've got the gardens on campus that people maintain, and we've got pet band, and like we have a huge music program, and it's really cool because people on my team get to go be involved in all of those things, and we get to go support each other in whatever like fundraisers or performances you're a part of. And so you get to kind of see your teammates like be the best versions of themselves too, because you're seeing them in other aspects of life that you wouldn't normally get to see them maybe like on the soccer field. And it's really unique, and it's a really cool experience to not only get to watch other people do that, but then for yourself to be able to realize like I'm more than my sport. Like I enjoy doing, this, and I enjoy baking, and I enjoy like all these other activities, and yeah, so it's a really cool opportunity.
You mentioned playing some high level opponents. You guys also got to play a Division One team this past season. You played Indiana. Talk about that. I mean, that had to be kind of exciting, right? You get to a little bit of a taste of that Division One game just for a little bit, but again without that pressure of like, you know, the whole all the D1 pressures we talked about. And it's kind of a game that I mean, like win or lose, like you still have an awesome experience that you'll never forget getting to play against that competition.
Yeah, it was an amazing experience. It was really, I think, a turning point in our season as well, because not only did we get to make like a team bonding trip out of that weekend, we got the memory now together of getting to play on a D1 stage, and that in itself is really cool. I remember our like telling our friends and classmates, and we were like, yeah, like we're gonna go play Division 1 team, so we're gonna be like leaving this weekend, and everyone was like, oh my God, like why are you guys playing them? Like, and like kind of this like concerned look on their face, and like us all being like, we don't really know either, like, but we're excited. And that Friday we played Elmhurst University on our way. And Saturday we got to stop and we got to visit a like zoo in Chicago, and we had like a little team bonding trip out there and got to walk around. And then Sunday we played Indiana, and like everything from like getting to like walk on the grass right before the game to like the final like whistle blow when we got to go like shake the other team's hand was just like an amazing experience. And yes, we lost, and and it's never fun to lose. Like even if you know that the other opponent is just at a different caliber of play than maybe your team is, that doesn't mean that losing ever feels good for sure. But I think that we were able to walk away from the experience being like, like that might be the hardest game that we play all year. And the first half of the game, we like were able to like keep them for the majority like at bay. And that in itself, it's like a small win. Like they didn't score within the first 5 minutes for sure. So it's like that was awesome. Like we, like there's small wins where it's like this is something that I think really pushed us to like believe in ourselves a little bit more. And I think that might have been part of my coach's goal in signing us up for that as well. I mean, Indiana always looks for either a Division 3 or Division 2 team to play on their senior day, which it was their senior day, and another team had fallen through, so that's how we ended up getting the spot. But I think that our coach knew that this would be also a really good opportunity for us, one that we would never have again to play on a Division 1 stage the way that they have like real grass, like we play on turf. So it just was like very interesting. It was like very nicely kept. Like their facilities were amazing. Like it was just super cool to like have that experience. But I think he also knew that like we kind of needed a moment to sit back with ourselves and be like, we actually could do this year of like winning the tournament. Like we could, if we, band together and we show the same amount of perseverance and strength and camaraderie that we did against a Division 1 opponent, against any of the teams in our conference, there's no way that we would, turn down a conference championship at the end of the season. So I really do think that that game was definitely a turning point for our team in terms of banding together and taking down other opponents during the year.
Yeah, you can learn a lot, and you'll always have those. Like, there's really no downside because you always have those memories. And you've got nothing to lose going into a game like that. I mean, you just play your hardest, give it your all. It can show you a lot about what you're made out of as a team. Like you said, the whole trip, the bonding experience. I mean, like you said, nobody wants to lose, nobody enjoys losing, but I think there's definitely more positives than negatives in a game like that. I mean, really, the only negative is losing. Other than that, everything else is a win and a benefit for your life and the memories looking back someday, telling your family and your friends and the stories and the memories you have. And then, kind of like you said, it helps you build confidence, it helps you get through it. And nothing. I feel like no challenge within a season is ever wasted because it'll help you later on. There's probably other games where you were in a tough spot and, maybe battling a D1 team kind of helped unearth something or showed you guys something that you used later on, even if you didn't realize it. So yeah, a lot of benefits. And you guys had a great season overall. So let's dive
Yeah,
into
we
that a
did.
little bit. Like the previous season, you guys were like 6-6-4, but this year you were 15-5-2, and you had an appearance in the NCAA tournament. So what do you think? like was the changing factor in improvement from last season to this season?
Yeah, I've thought about that a few times actually because I kind of walked away from the season and I was like, I don't really know like what happened even because like I was kind of in shock a little bit, I think, because I look at, the girls that played a lot this year and a lot of the girls still played a lot last year too. So it's not even like personnel changed as much. I think one more year of experience from a very young team that we've had previously that now are the upperclassmen and starting to get older in the program and have more experience. I think that that definitely does contribute and that definitely does help. I would also say work in the off season. I think I noticed like a lot of people over the summer really like working hard on the gym and really putting in a lot of time. And I think that that really was noticeable and showed when everyone showed up to preseason and everyone was in such good shape that like, normally it's like one of those things it's like if you show up out of shape, coach makes you run a lot and like that sucks and then it's taking away time possibly from doing other things, but it's not that it's not important because obviously soccer you need to be in shape, but it was really awesome to see that so many people like already prioritized that like we rather than just running sprints for straight practice. I think we all appreciated that. Um, and I think overall, like we kind of had like a mentality switch. I think we were really disappointed last year. We made it to the tournament and in our game against Grinnell was the first game of the tournament and we ended up losing. And I remember walking away from that game and everyone kind of looked at each other like, I just can't believe we lost. Because, like, we just felt like the better team out there. And it felt more like it was going our way until the last, like, 15 minutes of the game. And it was like we just couldn't score. And, like, I remember that frustrating feeling. And I think that that kind of mentality almost, not like holding a grudge, but maybe a little bit, just being like, wow, that really stung last year. And like, I don't want to feel that way again after a game. And knowing that we could have given a little bit more and knowing that we had to walk away and that, that kind of feeling where you're like, "Ah, dang it, like if only I had like sprinted that last ball down instead of just letting it like go out of bounds. So I think that that's kind of the mentality we came in with this year, and our coach always tells us to have a lioness mentality. And because, lioness mentality meaning like you protect the group, and you're like you go out and the lionesses hunt and they bring back, dinner for the herd and like it's really the women that do like a lot of the heavy labor. And he kind of uses that mentality on us of like it's up to us to go out and take something from other people and every game is an opportunity kind of to kind of be fearless and to be a little bit of like a savage kind of is what he'll tell us is to be a savage. And he's like, you have to step out onto the field. You don't have to be cocky and think that you're better than somebody else. But you have to be confident in your abilities and you have to be willing to say, I want this win more than you today, and I'm going to take it. And I think that that mentality switch was very apparent this year. And we had moments where maybe at halftime the game wasn't going the way that we thought it would. And then second half, we were able to just, really kick it up. We had several games actually first half where we started out in the first 15 minutes and had already scored a goal. In some games, even in the first, 5 minutes, 2 minutes, we were scoring. And I think it's just because we had that mentality of like, we're going to get after it this year. And like, and that mentality shift, I think, stemmed a lot from having really good leaders on our team. We had quite a few seniors on our team that had been through this program that, wanted to walk away with a win. And it was super awesome to be able to do that with them this year.
Yeah, kind of having an attack mode mentality in a lot of your games. And you personally, you doubled your playing time from 2023 to 2024. Did you Did you notice that you were like more tired at the end of the season because you played twice as
Yeah, my
much, or
body definitely my body definitely felt it towards the end of the season. Um, but yeah, it was a super awesome like personal year for me. I think like struggling, and I think coaches know that sophomore year is definitely one of the harder years. And I kind of after my sophomore year walked away with like having a choice. Like I could continue to maybe go the route of not it's not that I wasn't putting in effort, but maybe I just, was kind of tired and felt like very, very stressed and very anxious and I think I kind of decided that I didn't want to like keep working myself up about my mistakes and like keep playing them back in my mind anymore. Like I wanted to like have fun. And I think that once I made that shift, I really noticed my playing be so much better because I realized that like the only person putting so much pressure on me was me. And I could tell in my play that like it was not benefiting me to be like anxious and nervous out there. And so I ended up just like over the summer working with my club women's team. North Shore United has a like a U22, U23 team that they have, and we play over the summer. And I got to play with some of those girls. I played on a co-ed adult league in Oshkosh, which I knew that those were like a thing, but I didn't know how big of a thing it was because I mean this like co-ed Oshkosh League had like several like 14 different teams of like and like it was crazy. It was kind of cool. And I just kind of really focused on like falling in love with like why I love to play so much um and it was yeah, just falling in love with the sport again was really beneficial with me and I absolutely loved it playing again and I think that carrying that through my season like really helped because I realized that like everyone makes mistakes out there on the field, and honestly, nobody remembers anybody else's mistake but really your own. Like you're the one that keeps track of your mistakes the most probably. And so yeah, just playing for like the love of the game and remembering why I love to play so much and I think that's something that even like professional athletes go through. You hear about like professional athletes going through moments where the biggest obstacle is themselves and and putting pressure on themselves. And I don't think that at any division you're immune to having moments where your like mental health is impacted because of, playing in a pressurized sometimes environment. Which just happens with college athletics because you are surrounded by people that want to win and you want to win and so I think that taking that time to like remind myself why I love playing so much really helped in the off season as well as I think just helping my like my skills as well getting to play so much in the off season made me feel so much more confident on the ball, made me take chances, made me take people one on one. I worked out all summer with like doing a lot of sprint work to make sure that even though I am going to be like one of the older people on the team, I don't want to be one of the slower people on the team. So I was like, I really want to make sure that like I've still got like can keep up with our young freshmen. So I was like, I'm gonna work on my sprint work a lot, and I think all of that really paid off. And obviously, I was rewarded with more playing time from that, and that was such a blessing and so grateful for the opportunity to get to play so much with my team because not only can I walk away from our last season saying like what an amazing season we had, but I can walk away knowing that I was an integral part of that, whether that was, getting to put in a cross into the box for our 1-0 win against Ripon, or it was like my goal against Lake Forest to push us 1-0 in our conference final game. I think I was like an integral part of the team this year, and that made me super, super grateful to be a part of it. So,
the mental side of sports is it's so important. And I think what you're talking about, I mean, you mentioned like professional athletes and hearing their stories, but it's definitely something that most athletes experience is kind of putting so much pressure on yourself that you lose that love of the game, the whole reason why you played the sport to begin with and wanted to continue it, you totally lose that. And I think kind of one thing sometimes I hope people get out of the podcast if they're listening is, if somebody's going through something and then they listen to the podcast and they realize like, hey, this person's like, hey, they had the same problem that I had and they made it through it, that I don't know, just kind of hearing that story could help somebody else. So I feel like you sharing your experience and other athletes sharing their experiences on this podcast, other podcasts, obviously when people some college athletes, they speak to high schoolers, professional athletes, they speak. And I think all of that is just very beneficial because it's so easy to, like you said, kind of jump on yourself, beat yourself up, pile stress onto yourself. We end up sometimes being our own worst enemies when we really should try to be our own supporters, but it's not as easy as it sounds, right? Like it's so easy to just tear yourself down, and it's a lot harder to build yourself up sometimes. So yeah, I think, hearing about it, sharing that message, it's definitely helpful, and we've come to a place, I think, across athletics where now people are talking about the mental side of sports. Like for so long, it was kind of hush hush, let's just shove it under the rug and we won't talk about it. And I mean, obviously, there's still plenty of growth to be made with that, but we've made a lot of
Absolutely. Yeah.
progress in the last 5, 10 years, and I think it's awesome because it also translates to just regular life. Like if people, maybe you're not a high level athlete, you can still take those experiences on stress management and mental health management that athletes use and kind of apply it to your own life. Because I mean, some jobs are and just kind of life in general can be so stressful and again, you can pile on to yourself. So yeah, I think it's all great stuff to talk about, and to share experiences because that's one of the best ways to help people. And I think it's great when professional athletes come out and they share their story and how they overcame it or what they're doing to work through it. And just admitting that people are vulnerable. I mean, that's a huge step. It's so hard sometimes to like admit, like, hey, I've got something going on, whatever it is. Um, so when you see, oh, my favorite football player, basketball player did that, sometimes it makes it easier for people too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I look up to a lot of people who speak out about their own mental health journeys just because I think it really helps me stay in tune with where I am. And it's just really good to hear that, like, you're not the only person that feels this way, you know?
Yeah.
And so I was really fortunate too because our athletic department and our coach puts a lot of emphasis on having like mental health awareness games. So we have a mental health awareness game every year. Um, and it's just a really awesome and unique opportunity to like come together and realize that like everyone struggles, you're not alone, and there are resources out there for you. And it's nice to have an athletic department that supports that as well. Um, because, essentially sometimes you are stressed because of your sport, but you also know there are people in your sport that want to help you. So, it kind of goes hand in hand and it's good. And I lead the Hidden Opponent campus chapter for our school, and they have lots of awesome resources. And the Hidden Opponent was founded and run by Victoria Garrick Brown, who was a volleyball player, Division I volleyball player, and she speaks out a lot about her mental health struggles and like resources for athletes, and she's really amazing. And so I love listening to her talk about stuff. And but yeah, overall, I think my sophomore year, like focusing on being the best version of myself, really translated into being the best soccer player because I just had so much more fun with playing this year. And I was able to really look at my teammates and feel surrounded by people that love me and that I love, and get to be on a team with some of my best friends kind of. And it was a year, and we got to do really awesome things both on and off the field, whether it's winning big games or we got to go to the pumpkin patch and carve pumpkins together, and we got to do like the whole petting zoo thing, and so we did a lot of team bonding. We go to Door County every year for a little like bonding session at the beginning of the year, and we do some fitness up in Door County. And so there were moments that I remember during the season that had really like we were there because of soccer, but it really had nothing to do with the actual soccer part. It had more to do with the fact that like I got to be with my best friends, and like those I think are the moments of like obviously I'm gonna remember for the rest of my life winning a tournament, like winning the Midwest tournament, because that in itself is so awesome. But I think I'm really like gonna remember being with like my team in those special moments, and like how fun that was. And we got to see one of our captains, Natalie, who's a senior. She set a school record for most assists and I think most assists in a season. So she set like two. And we got to see like our goalkeeper get named for like first team all conference awards, and like several of other girls on our team got those. And our coach ended up getting coach of the year. And so we just got to have like those small milestones with each other this year. And even though, it might not always been me getting those moments, I was so happy to get to see my team get those moments. And so, um, yeah, overall, I just was an amazing year. So I was really happy to be a part of it this year.
Yeah, it's nice when you can look back and feel happy about your season, and then sometimes that leads you to be more excited for the next year. If you have a bad season, you're not always excited to go back and do it again, but if you have a great season, you really can look forward to it and want to put in the work for the next year. So yeah, all good stuff. Let's talk a little bit about the Appleton area. I love Appleton. I love going down to Appleton. I live in the UP, Michigan. So it's only like 4.5 hour drive. I was actually just in Appleton
Okay, yeah.
yesterday. Um, so we just went down because my wife's brother lives in Kimberly. And it's just nice to go down, and I love going to the mall.
Oh,
I have
yeah, I
another
love
friend.
Appleton.
Yeah, I have another friend that lives he lived near downtown. Then he moved. I'm not sure where he moved now, but it's fun to go down and hang out with him. And there's some cool bars and restaurants around Appleton, Green Bay area. I mean, there's plenty of stuff to do. If you like go all the way from Oshkosh, Appleton, Green Bay, I mean, there's just so much stuff to do. It's a nice area. I really enjoy going down there.
Yeah, yeah, I love living there. Yeah. And I think the biggest thing that I really like about it, I think, is how like it feels kind of like a smaller city, like where our school is, because you've got like the downtown area that's kind of like nearby, but it's just so safe that I've never felt like walking alone on campus is like dangerous to me. And I know that my mom thinks that like I should probably walk around with like a taser or something because she's like always really scared. She's like really scared, but like that she's a mom, so
Yeah,
I'll love her a little
that's
bit like
mom's.
yeah, those are moms, right? So, but yeah, but it's a really like awesome small like close-knit community, and I just yeah, I really like going to school there. It's not for me, it's like it's not too much of a city where you feel like it's a little bit overwhelming or like wow, it's like really noisy all the time, but it's not, just suburban where it's like you just have neighborhoods surrounding you. So it's just like a really good mix of both. Our professors, a lot of them live in the nearby suburbs that are, I think, I want to say that they're like west, or no, I think east of our school. Um, but or maybe, yeah, I think it's like northeast are like the suburbs, and they like some of our professors live up there, and they will be like walking their dogs to school, and their students walking around, and they'll get to like pet their dogs, and that's always really cool. And then we've got the whole downtown Appleton that's like right there. So it's kind of, it's a college town, I guess you could say. And so it's very much like coffee shop, random antique store, bar, coffee shop, bar, another random store, coffee shop. Like, so I think that there's like 8 or 9 different coffee shops that are on the little like strip that's by our school. And I can say I've tried every single one of them. And as any college student would, go to coffee shops that are right there. But there's always, every time I go into any of them, there's always a student there. And so like our school is really connected with the nearby area as well. Like just going to all the little stores and going to get food, and there's a bunch of restaurants, and when your family's in town you might bring them to, the downtown coffee shops and stuff, and so you always find Lawrence students in that space. And then they have festivals, and they have Oktoberfest there that's like huge, and they have like, on every corner, whatever, they have a different band playing music, and they have farmers markets every Saturday. My team, if we've got games on Saturday, we'll do like a team walk through the farmers market, and we'll all stop and get coffee, and our coach will walk with us through the farmers market, and that's always really special. And so there's definitely opportunities for like things if you've got like a family, and you want to go out and do things, like there's space for that. There's space for college students to do things. There's space for retired people to go out to the music festivals when they've got like good jazz bands going. And so yeah, so it's really awesome. And I got to stay over the summer, and they had their Mile of Music thing going on, and that was just huge, and it was so cool to be able to see, because I normally wouldn't have seen it if I wasn't there doing research over the summer. So they have some really awesome things for people of all ages to participate in, and it's really cool.
Yeah, I was just gonna say actually that I'd like to do that one of these summers, go to the Mile of Music. That looks cool.
Yeah, they
Also
have
like
like
to
this map, and they like send out the different places where all the stages are, and like from one stage you can see the lights of another stage that's like right around the corner. And this past summer they had a stage that was like right on our campus facility. Like it was like right in our green space that's like in the front of our school by our arch, and they like had this like stage set up with a band. And I don't even think I knew any of the lyrics or like the songs that this band was playing, but I just was like, this is awesome. Like just the atmosphere alone was pretty walking, and got to like walk through all the different stuff. And some of them they have like bands set up in the different like bars or restaurants too, so you could like go in and see them. And yeah, it was just really cool to be able to be there for that. Yeah.
yeah. Well, let's use that to kind of segue into music. Like what kind of music do you like to listen to?
Oh gosh, that's a good question. I don't know. I think it kind of depends. Okay, well, it depends on what I'm doing, I guess. I guess if I'm like driving, I've been a huge Gracie Abrams fan recently, and Tate McRae for my driving. Um, and I listen to probably like country music the most, just because I live in the middle of nowhere. So, country music is very popular out here. So I probably listen to that the most. But I definitely am always taking requests from all my teammates for new like pre-game music, like when we're like in the locker room, because I feel like that's where I struggle the most, is to find like those like cool hip songs. And I'm always like asking people, I'm like, oh, what songs do you listen to? Because like then I can add them to my playlist. So,
What's like a favorite song of yours right now? Like, is there anything you're really vibing to?
hmm. I would probably say the song I've played the most recently might be. I probably have to look up the name of it, but I've been listening to a lot of Gracie Abrams recently, and not because I'm depressed, just because I think that her music is so like it's so pretty, and it's so like beautifully worded. And she has a song, well, two of them. Her one song, That's So True, amongst a lot of my friends, and I think amongst a lot of other people too. So like I would say that song I really enjoyed. But on top of that song, I Know It Won't Work. She has that song, and I just like I love like the like when she switches from the verse in the beginning to like the chorus, like that like switch, I'm like, oh, I get goosebumps. Like it's such like a pretty song. So I'm like, but yeah, so those are probably the two songs I've been like listening to the most right now.
I'm not big into like newer country. I do vibe with like Tyler Childers.
Oh yeah.
And he's another one that like I feel like some of his music is kind of depressing, but I like it because I think the lyrics are just the songwriting ability is just amazing. I mean I like all genres of music, but I like when there's a good story in a song and impressive lyrics and story writing. I think that's great sometimes. Yeah, I don't know. New country music is just not something I've gotten to vibe with. I love old country. Like all of my favorite country singers are from the early 2000s or older. Um, but yeah, and I just haven't vibed with new country at all, really.
Yeah, and I feel like there are some songs that I do really like, and other songs I'm just like I tried to get into like a Zach Bryan phase when everyone was like, "Oh my God, this is the best country artist ever!" Like, love him so much. Like, you should get into him. And so I tried listening to some of that, and it's not that I didn't like it. I just like sometimes I get the songs confused because I'm like, I like to me they all sound the same. Like nobody come for me. That sounds so like I hope that doesn't sound rude. But I'm just like to me, they just some of them like sound very similar, and it doesn't mean I don't like them. It's just like I feel like I have to be in a very specific mood to enjoy that kind of music. So like sometimes like I'll go back to some of the older country Brooks and Dunn that my dad plays in his like pickup truck when he would like pick me up from middle school. And I used to complain a lot and be like, "This song sucks, Dad. Like I don't want to listen to this." But now I look back with like endearment and I'm like, "Oh, that was a cute time." So,
Yeah, that's good stuff. I like Brooks and Dunn. I like 90s country a lot. I like early 2000s. Like Toby Keith is fantastic. I mean, if I feel like most people who like country like Toby Keith. I feel like I always say my favorite country singers and people have no idea who they are because they're too old for them. Like somebody on the podcast a couple months ago said they were big into country, and I was like, "Yeah, these are my favorite country singers." And they're like, "Oh, I've never heard of any of those people." So I was like,
yeah, I grew up who is that one artist? Is it Alan Jackson? Is
"Yeah,
that his
he's pretty good."
like on all the time in my household? So I was like I grew up with a lot of I feel like older country, and so now that I listen to like newer country, it's just a very different vibe. I almost like I don't want to like almost classify it as country. Some of it I want to classify more as like pop or maybe just in its
Yes,
own category
yes,
because I'm just like it's just very different.
yes,
I've also I gotta say I've been on a big my roommate my college roommate is a huge Taylor Swift fan. So she's got me like sometimes hooked on some of those where I'm like I really liked her original album that was a little bit more like country. I would classify her debut album as more country and that's the album that she dislikes the most, of course. So I'm like so we just have very different Taylor Swift like I don't um like eras, I guess you could say that we like. But yeah, but we both listen to her a lot too together, so
yeah. I think what you said, I've had a lot of conversations with people on the podcast about new country being more pop and people like Morgan Wallen being more of a pop singer than an actual country singer, but also it's kind of like a hybrid, and props to him for going with that hybrid because he attracted so many new fans that didn't like pure country. So he got all these people who like were into pop, and doing different collaborations with various I think that's another thing that country singers are doing now is they're like doing collaborations or duets with pop stars, rappers, and I think that's attracting new fans. So yeah, it's almost like it's a kind of a separate branch of country, like you said. It's like a hybrid because I feel like your Zach Bryans and Tyler Childers, it's a little more of an authentic kind of that older country. But if you listen to um, like I'm drawing a blank here, other than Morgan Wallen, like that type or Kane Brown, that's more of like the hybrid pop country. So yeah, there's definitely different categories for sure.
yeah, I think that Yeah, the hybrid is where I would classify a lot of Morgan Wallen songs, and that's not to say I don't love listening to his music from time to time. But yeah, I wouldn't say that it's like full on country because and I also will say that like I think some of it does have to do with like experience, like in terms of when you like the classic country music artists, I feel like when they're telling stories through song, like they're almost like relating their like younger lives back through song. And Morgan Wallen is living his younger life, so he's like speaking in the now of how he's feeling about his life. And I think that that's really both versions are like, beautiful versions to tell the story, and I think he's telling it in a really relatable way. So I feel like he's drawing a lot of attention probably from crowds that are around his age because they're like, wow, I feel like that too when you're singing about this and blah blah blah. But I do think you know, it's telling only part of the story in terms of like when he's older and he continues to make music, like will he look on these and make more authentic country songs, like, now that he's older and looking back on it, will that change his music platform? And it is interesting though to see the hybrid versions of country music because I thought they're awesome. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of you look at music right throughout time and somebody's always got some new innovative way where they take a genre and they try to put their spin on it. Throughout time you see that so many times and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's clearly worked for some of these country singers. Because there's probably a lot of people who listen to Morgan Wallen that 10, 15 years ago may have said, "Oh, I don't like country music. I only like pop." And he managed to draw them in. And then
absolutely.
in doing that, they might have discovered other country singers that they've kind of liked. I think there's um, Jimmy Butler. I remember him saying, I don't know, I can't remember who he was playing for, if he was playing for the Bulls at the time or whoever, but he told some story about playing music in the locker room and his teammates were playing all their music, like nobody was wearing headphones and it was kind of pissing him off. So he started to play country music to try to like annoy his teammates, and he actually ended up liking country music. So he tried to do it to get people, and then he's like, "Oh, hey, this actually isn't that bad." I remember seeing that in some interview I
That's
read.
funny.
So it's kind of funny. But yeah, I don't know. I like a little piece of every genre. So I wouldn't say I hate modern country. I just don't really vibe with it. But there are select songs that I do enjoy. So I mean, yeah, I mean everyone's got a different taste in music, and I think that's what's great about music is there's something out there for everybody that's fun to listen to. So, yeah, well, Erica, I appreciate you hopping on the podcast, sharing your soccer journey as soccer has been underrepresented on the podcast. I'll have to do
Well,
something
thank you
about
so
that and get
much.
some
Yeah,
more
thank you so
soccer
much
players on.
for having me on the podcast.
Yeah, no, it was great. Appreciate it. Thanks for listening. Please stay tuned for more episodes soon.